Hey, good morning, everybody. It is great to be with you here at sunrise on this beautiful Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend with the morning briefing. Thanks for spending some time with me here this morning. Grab a cup of coffee. I'll get you caught up on a lot, and there's a lot going on that we have to get to. First of all, I do want to start with Memorial Day weekend. You know, all of this fishing, the outdoors, I mean, anything that you do in life, we owe to the men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice for our country, the United States of America. And without their sacrifices, without our active service people right now out there protecting our country, this is all a pipe dream. This is not going to happen. Because we have freedom, because we have liberty, we are able to experience this. And I've traveled enough around the world, lived in mainland China, traveled through many, many countries to know that this is the best place on the face of the earth. And the reason why it is, and the reason why we have this all, is because of the sacrifices that those men and women have made for our country. Past, who've given their lives, and present, who continue to defend our country. I know today is more about remembering those who passed away, who died in the service of our country, but I'd like to remember everybody and keep that in mind. I'm guilty of, hey, it's Memorial Day. Let's have a hamburger and a hot dog and goof around and not really thinking about what it's truly all about. So just wanted to mention that right up front. All right, gracing our video cover. You see that guy with that big white sea bass? That's Mike Parker. He caught that fish on Opsin Fluorocarbon, www.opsinusa.com. Put in FA at checkout. You'll get a note from owner Greg Brown as well as a free gift. But just want to say congratulations to Mike. He scratched that big old croaker off his bucket list. That is great. You know, one thing, I don't know if you can see it, but there are so many bean clams on the beach here this morning. It's low tide, so you can see it. I mean, so there's all kinds of feed here. And if you ever opened up a Corvina, if you're a surf fisherman, you'll see these bean clams in there all the time. So much feed on the beach. Of course, if you dig down, you're going to find sandworms. And we have a Grunion Run on the horizon on May the 30th. Another Grunion Run is going to start. And I'll remind you that new regs are now in effect. Starting June 1st, you can only take 30 grunion. However, June is closed also. It's observation only. So it'll be the subsequent months that you're only allowed to have 30 grunion in your possession. So keep that in mind. All right, weather. We got to talk about it. Okay, and then I'm going to get into tuna and sea bass and so much more. But we have to address the elephant that's in the room, that's been in the room this whole spring, and it's this expletive deleted. It's this wind. It's been a royal pain in the neck. So let me just take you from south up, give you the forecast, remind you all that these are forecasts. Things can change. All right, down in the tuna zone where the San Diego boys and the Ensenada boys are all fishing, that area is going to be immune from this. They're going to have nice weather. And they might get a little breezy conditions, but definitely fishable. Should not affect that bite at all. The coastal region from Ensenada all the way up to the Channel Islands looks like it's going to be okay. Maybe not the Channel Islands, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. But let's say the coastal region all the way up to Malibu area, that looks like it's going to be fine. So there's some great promise here along the beaches. I mean, for calico bass, sand bass, maybe even a barracuda bite, that is going to stay pretty calm with the exception of maybe Monday afternoon, and then we could get some more wind. Now, taking a look at San Clemente Island, that looks like it's going to blow up here on Sunday evening and then Monday evening. It should be fishable, but it's going to get windy. And San Nicolas Island, which has been the site of this halibut fishing and sea bass and yellowtail, too windy. It's going to get just too windy starting right now. It's windy out there right now. And then the Channel Islands, man, those poor guys up there. I mean, you're going to hear that there was an exceptional halibut catch up there again yesterday, but they are in the midst of wind again. Right now it's blowing up there, and it's going to blow for a few days. So fingers crossed that we can get out of this windy situation finally and get back to some really consistent good fishing, because every time we get the wind, we take a step backwards in terms of conditions. Water gets a little dirty, water gets cooler, and that is not good for our surface bites. So again, fingers crossed and high hopes that that's going to straighten out here very, very soon. Ensenada guys, those guys that are heading out on the pongas, I'm talking about the Baja guys, still scoring good tuna on the troll. They have been running uphill now a little bit, but it's still easy range for those guys, and now there's a lot of that 15 to 20 pound tuna, but there's fish up to 200 pounds still. So if you're thinking about crossing the border and jumping on with one of the guys down there, Diego Nuno, he's a deckhand on the Royal Star, but he's got a little operation down there. He's building even a bigger pond as we speak. All those guys are in the ball game and catching fish. Todos Santos Island down there, I should mention, has a few more yellowtail. There's been some fish on the yo-yo iron recently. There's a few pongeros looking at that, but most guys are on that tuna. It's just too hard to pass up right now. San Diego boys, a lot of those guys with limits of bluefin tuna, especially the guys that are fishing at night, but there's some daytime fish too, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. Nighttime, fish anywhere from 15 to 200 pounds. Seems like you get those bigger grade bluefin at night. Definitely, if you're going to San Diego, you definitely should have 2 outfits with you, 3 preferably, but you need something like a 30-pound outfit, and that's the fish to kelp patties and the smaller grade tuna. Then you need something like a 50-pound outfit, and that's the fish, the slightly bigger tuna. And then, of course, for the big, really big stuff, you need to have something like 80, 100-pound 2-speed reel. All of that is definitely important to your success. You're going to invest time, you're going to invest money. Don't skimp on being properly prepared. That is so important. It is really important to go down there and make sure you are geared up properly. Fluorocarbon, absolutely. Opsin, you know how much we love that. So, or the brand of your choice, but you definitely want to have that. That is big, big, big. So many of the nighttime guys, 1.5 day trips, 1.75 day trips, doing really well on that fish down there in that neck of the woods. There's a few misses here and there, but for the most part, it seems to have settled down quite a bit. Now, the one-day guys, the boats that are leaving at 6 a.m. in the morning, same tackle recommendations, okay? You definitely want to have that. Some of the boats yesterday with a handful of bluefin and some pretty good kelp patty yellowtail fishing at times. Remember, that bluefin has moved up the coast, up there off Rosarito, down there off Puerto Nuevo, some of it even up a little bit closer to the Coronado Islands. Not that close, but seems to be moving, kind of vacillating up and down the Baja coast, above Ensenada, up there to Rosarito, and above that. So these 6 a.m. boats, it's starting to get in their wheelhouse, as it was yesterday for the San Diego. What a nice score on the San Diego. You cannot beat it. 42 bluefin tuna. Nice hit on those fish for a boat that leaves at 6 a.m., comes back at 6 p.m. out of C4 Sport Fishing. You can hardly beat that. The range in terms of size for the San Diego, 15 to 160 pounds. That's what I'm talking about. You got to be tackled up for that smaller grade fish and that bigger grade fish. And then you have those kelp patty yellows. And those kelp patty yellows have been, I want to say, 5 to 12 pounds like that for the most part. A few bigger, even a few smaller than that 5 pound. So, you know, you're going to have to really bring a variety of tackle to make it happen. Make sure you are prepared for all of that and more. So those guys are just starting to get out. Well, actually, just starting to leave right now as it's daybreak here in SoCal. So we'll keep our eyes on them. The overnight guys, some of those guys, even on a one-day trip, had some good scores, and there's been a few misses also, but that fish really settling in, and weather is not going to be a problem. Coronado Islands, the Mission Belle, and my good friend Sean Hardigan, captain of the Mission Belle, was there recently. Had a couple of yellowtail, 3 I think it was, and then whitefish, rockfish, calico bass, that kind of thing. No big numbers of the yellowtail yet, but I do believe that is in our future, and the weather there should be beautiful here for Monday, so I like that. That allows the water to continue to heal, to continue to get up in water temperature, and of course to clean up, and all of that is really, really good. There's a lot of anchovy around, which bodes well along the coast for a barracuda and sand bass bite. For now, we're still looking at predominantly rockfish and sculpin. Good table fare, not exactly the most sporting fish in the world, but who cares, man? A day on the water with your family and friends, catching some great eating fish. life could be a lot worse than that. There's nothing wrong with that until we wait for some of those fish that like to pull a little bit harder. And we're hoping that we're going to see some barracudas. I mentioned previously this weather is going to be very nice up and down the coast. It should be gorgeous in terms of the wind. And when I talk about weather here on the morning briefing, I remember the other day, when was it? Oh, I think it was up in the Channel Islands. I got up there and somebody said, hey, you said the weather was going to be great. What are you talking about? It's cool. I had to put a jacket on. So when I talk about weather here, I'm talking about that. I'm talking about whether there's wind, whether it's really rough. That's it. It could be even drizzling a little bit. It could be 30 degrees below zero. But if that is calm, that's what we're talking about when we talk about weather. So you hear these guys all the time, how's your weather? They could care less whether it's cloudy, sunny. They want to know what the sea conditions are like, and that's what we focus on. So coastal region, once again, mostly that shallow water rockfish, sculpin, but there's been a few hits on some big yellowtail. There's been occasional white sea bass. Some of the guys that focus on that big white sea bass have been doing good fishing mackerel along the kelp lines in several different areas. So we'll continue to watch it. Hopefully we're going to see some barracuda here in the very near future. I love catching those things on the iron. There is nothing more fun than that. All right, let's get you out to the islands now. We'll start at Catalina Island, and the weather there for the most part is going to be okay. You might get that one Monday afternoon blow that might affect into Tuesday, but while breezy at times, depending upon where you're fishing at the island, some areas are going to be very, very nice. We're picking at the bonita. There's some barracuda. There's been some halibut. There's been some white sea bass, calico bass. Nothing wide open, okay? It's kind of up and down. It wouldn't surprise me to see a big score come out of there today. Wouldn't surprise me one bit to see somebody come up with 8 or 10 or 12 yellows or a hit on the sea bass or some good halibut fishing. But it's just inconsistent right now. We'll continue to watch it. Good news is that weather seems like it's going to be pretty good. So I think we're okay with regard to that, with the exception of that Monday evening, afternoon. We'll keep our eyes on it. San Clemente Island. Man, oh man, I'll tell you, my good friend Tino Valentine, nice white sea bass the other day, beautiful fish. I love those things. Those croaker are getting ready to bite, but we're going to deal with some weather at Clemente, no question about it. We'll watch it very closely for you. I know nobody in this world wants to get out there more than Tino Valentine. Lately, it's been, you know, a sea bass or halibut or two, maybe more than that. Jeff Markland recently on the Thunderbird a few days back had almost 20 yellows out there, but it's been a little bit more difficult here recently. Yo-yo iron, a great way to get the job done out there on those yellows, but mostly dropper loop with the squid. That probably is the best way, with some heavier mono or fluoro. That whole debate rages on. A lot of guys say you don't need fluoro when you're fishing dropper loop. Guys on our channel are posting all the time, man, it's good for the abrasion, and I believe it gets you bit, and why not go with everything in your arsenal to make it happen? So you can go fluoro or you can go mono, but you do need to go heavy, okay? 60, 50, 40's iffy. I mean, you can get away with it, but I prefer up there about 50 or 60 so you can really put the wood to these fish. There's structure in many of these areas. Those yellows are big, tough fish. You definitely want to make sure you're fishing the heavy. So hopefully we'll see some decent fishing out of there, but we do have some wind out there. Whether it's going to be unfishable or not, I'm not going to really make a prediction on that, but it's going to be breezy. Let's put it that way. San Nicolas Island, where many of these nice scores have come from on halibut and fish like that, sea bass, yellowtail. There's been really some outstanding fishing at Nick, also Santa Barbara Island. Too windy, and it's windy right now as we speak this morning, and it's going to blow up even more, so we're going to have to keep our eyes on that for you very closely. Hopefully conditions aren't going to just really plummet. I mean, we could have a severe water temperature drop the way it's blowing up there in that neck of the woods. We'll keep our eyes on it. Hopefully it's going to head in the right direction. Yesterday up there out of the Channel Islands, more halibut. In fact, the Aloha Spirit, what a day, 24 halibut on the Aloha Spirit. That's a huge score. I think they had a white sea bass, rockfish to go along with it. That's the kind of stuff we've been seeing up there in the Channel Islands. Of course, Tucker McCombs up there on the Endeavor here recently had an outstanding trip with sea bass and halibut. Just a marvelous day's fishing, but we've got wind on our hands right now. Unfortunately, again, boy, it's just really extending. As you can see here, looks like it's going to extend into June, and hopefully things are going to calm down here pretty soon. We really need it up there in the Channel Islands because we've seen great signal on white sea bass, great signal on halibut. There's been yellowtail up there. There's more squid starting to show up. There's chovy along the beach. So guys like Cody Rogers on the island spread out of Ventura sport fishing can get a piece of barracuda or sand bass or calico bass, but the wind is going to send things backwards for right now. We'll continue to watch it. Hopefully it's going to kick into gear. Incidentally, Ventura sport fishing, man, what a great trip we had recently on board the Island Spirit. Cody and their crew, and of course Saul up there in the ticket office. Love those guys. They do such great work. There's nothing to say about the Endeavor and Tucker. I mean, the guy's booked until November. So, I mean, that pretty much says it all. Pacific Dawn's up there. And locally, you got the old Matt Walsh up there, the California, with Steve Virtue at the helm. And Steve's a great friend and a great fisherman. 805-676-3474 if you'd like to jump on a boat out of Ventura sport fishing. Their weather's going to calm down finally, and then it's going to get really, really good up there in that neck of the woods. 2 openings on our Amigo trip, June the 15th, when the white sea bass limit goes from 1 to 3. That's a Wednesday night departure out of 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro. Send me a text if you'd like more information on that and all our charters. 676-227-6459. Almost forgot that number. All right, so you can send me a text. I'll send you more information on that. Surf fishing. Well, up and down the beaches, you know, all these bean clams and worms and grunion, all of that gets things more and more active. Things are starting to pick up. This water temp is nice. And as I mentioned, weather-wise, we're going to have a lot of wind here along the beach. So that is really fantastic news. And hopefully we're going to see more and more fish. This is a perfect time, by the way. Low tide is okay for fishing corvina. You'll find those things in the shallows right up on the beach. You can fish that with really light line and 6-pound fluorocarbon. Some guys go down even to 4-pound, but you can fish it with sandworms. Another good bait is, of course, mussels that you can get right down the street here at Big Fish Bait and Tackle. They've got all kinds of stuff for you, and you can dig up sandworms. I've got a video for you on how to dig up sandworms. They are such an extraordinarily effective bait. Somebody came on here and said you can use the Berkeley Gulp sandworms, and they're very effective. I've used them. They do work. I think the natural baits are better, and you can dig them up on the beach if you learn how to do it. But those things, the one thing I'll say about that is they stay on the hook. Sometimes sandworms, the natural bait, a little difficult to, first of all, get on the hook because they're kind of skinny, and then after that, they do come up. But man, they are effective. These fish, that bait is here. It's a natural bait. They're used to feeding on it. They see it and they're on it. They want to bite it. So corvina along the beaches, a little bit of yellowfin croaker. Up in the Santa Monica Bay, we're seeing some more and more corvina in there around Topaz Rock Jetty over toward the Redondo Pier. As we move you up a little bit further, the El Segundo area, there's some decent yellowfin croaker. Down around Dana, we're seeing halibut. So Lucky Craft is a good way to get that job done. You're going to match the hatch here starting the 30th, and many times those grunion will stage up beforehand. So fishing that Lucky Craft chrome crocodile, a chrome castmaster, all of that works really well in the Southern California coast. I've been fishing in this neck of the woods, and we've had a problem with kelp along the beach. You might see some of that behind me, and that has been an A1 pain in the you-know-what. But picking away, you saw that giant leopard shark I had the other day. I don't think it was that big, maybe. Nah, I think I'm exaggerating. It wasn't quite that big. But there's, again, some fish moving along the beaches here, and hopefully that's going to continue to pick up. All right, another morning briefing in the books. As always, it's my pleasure to spend some time with you, and I deeply appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend some time with Friedman Adventures. Give us a like. Hit that like button, please. Send a video to a friend. You are helping us to grow so rapidly. You have my deepest thanks for doing that. Many of you send videos to friends and say, hey, watch this, check this out, and hit that like button. And if you want, comment, of course, on our YouTube channel. I try to answer all the comments every single day. Sometimes a little late, apologize for that, but I try to get to everything every day. All right, another gorgeous day, Memorial Day weekend. Once again, we remember all the men and women who've given it all for this great country of ours. I thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again really soon, my friend.